Hello, everyone, and I want to share with you a couple of things today that I think can be really, really helpful. So, first, I'm going to start with a question. Do you ever have problems like trying to figure out what story to tell? You have a blank sketchbook or iPad sitting in front of you, and you're like, I want to do something with this character, but I just don't know what. I want to come up with a plot, but I just don't know what to say. This is going to be really helpful for you. And I'm going to show you 5 reasons how you can draw characters from your own experiences and create stories that resonate. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm doing this little, these little images, these animated, cartoonish versions of myself, caricatures you could say of myself, and I'm doing these actually for my videos. Believe it or not, I'm doing these so as a fun little way to put onto my thumbnails so I don't have to show just my regular face. I think these are a little bit more engaging and exciting, so these are going to be fun. But back to our topic for today. So these are going to be 5 ways to create stories from your own experiences. I know that a lot of artists are a little bit more personal and they don't necessarily want to share their own experiences or their own stories. They don't want to reveal too much about them, but you can use your own experiences actually through the lens of characters that you create so that it won't necessarily be you. It will be like an alias, but you can still use your experiences to come up with these storylines and plot lines, and you can actually play with them and twist them once you come up with them. But I'm going to give you ways to kind of brainstorm so that you won't have to be thinking from nowhere. You can have some solid ideas to go with. All right, so let's start with the first one. So the first one that you want to do is write a list of your best days. So the best days that you've experienced. This doesn't necessarily have to be like your single best days. Sometimes it's kind of hard to kind of think of like one best day. You can jot down 3 or 4 different ideas for the best days that you've ever experienced. Let's say that love is something that's really important to you. So it might be that you met the love of your life on this day. It could be that you met someone who changed your life in some dramatic way. If you have children, it could be the day that you, oops, it could be the day that your first child was born, for instance. Or it could be a day that you achieved something that was really important to you, like you graduated high school or college, or you achieved something that was really, you got hired at some place that you've been trying to get to for a long time. You got accepted into a program that you've been trying to get accepted to for a long time. All of these things are going to be important because they reflect your something that was valuable to you. So they reflect your values. Oops, I deselected for a second. So you want to write down a couple of ideas for your best experiences, their best days that you've ever had, and you want to write down why those experiences were important to you. What was the value that you achieved on that day? What was really important to you or meaningful to you that got validated on that day? Those are the types of things that you can think about, and will help you to realize what was it about this day or these days that made it really special. Some people have one day that really stands out in their life as like, this was like the best day ever because my friends really surprised me with something that I've been wanting for a really long time. They gave me like a really special surprise party, or I got to go on this really amazing trip and all the people I loved were there. So it could be that experiences and loved ones are really important to you. So that might be some reason why this day was really, really special to you, or you were asking for something for a really long time that was valuable to you, and someone finally acknowledged that and got that thing for you, or it could be a pet, a pet that you got that you were wanting for a long time. So these are all things that could be your best day, and they really resonate when you think about why was it your best day? Like, what was it that you were experiencing that was really valuable to you, that manifested that day? And so you want to take notes on what that was. Okay, the next thing, number 2, is, what was your worst day? So I know that one's a little bit harder. It's like, I don't really want to recall my worst day ever. But these are experiences that are important. These are real experiences. So you can look back and say, all right, this was a really bad day for me, either because maybe I lost someone that was really important to me. It could be a parent or a grandparent, or even you might have lost a pet. Those are things that are hard to talk about, but it's really actually a great way to start to find healing, because it gives validation to yourself for what you experienced, even though it might be hard to kind of like, oh, I really don't want to think about that. But when you think, all right, well, let me just recall, what was the worst day I've had? What made it a bad day? What was it that I wanted to have happen that was important to me, that was valuable to me, that didn't happen? Or, what was something that was really valuable to me that was taken away? These are things that we can think about that will like help us to find real stories. You'll start to see, okay, there's a pattern here. These stories are attached to my values. Things that, good days and bad days don't just happen. They're very personal, because they're related to the things that we think are important, the things that we feel are important in our lives. So something that was the best day for me to happen would be completely like a normal day to somebody else, or just maybe not even important day, because they have a different value than I do. And the same is with you. Something that's really important to you, or something that made you really sad or upset, is really specific to you, because because it goes directly aligned with what's valuable to you. So think about the day that was maybe the most hurtful for you, or maybe the worst day that you've experienced. And remember, you don't have to tell it about yourself necessarily. You can just recall these and use an alias to kind of help you to manage getting through the story. Like, you can use a different character to experience this who has the same value as you, and you'll be actually giving yourself sort of like that kind of validation that you need to kind of move through those feelings that you have that are still attached to that experience. All right. So the third one that you want to do is recall the best advice that you've ever been given. So I think this one is actually really cool and really fun, because I think advice comes from so many different places. All the different things that we experience in our life, someone told us something, someone guided us somewhere. And you know what? It's really fun to kind of look back and say, oh, I remember, when my grandmother would always say this one thing, and it was so annoying because she would say it almost every day. But when I look back on it, it was really, really important. Or when I look back on that thing that my teacher said to me in third grade, I didn't think it was important then, but now when I look back on it, that was really good advice. And it might have even changed your life in some way. It might have even helped you to reflect and make some decisions that were really important to you. It could have been career decisions. It could have been decisions about love or friendship, or just even like got you out of trouble that you might have been gotten into otherwise. So you want to think about, okay, what were some of the advice that I got that really helped me to stay out of trouble and really helped me. So that would be your third one. And you know what's really funny, I was actually in this program when I was in high school. I went to this camp. It was like an engineering camp of all things. It was an engineering camp, and I was there and I was like sketching. I was like in my sketchbook, or not even in my sketchbook. You're literally using like the pamphlet that they gave us to, and I was just doodling. And one of the like administrators was just walking by and was like, hey, you're really good at that. And he's like, that's a really that's a talent. You don't want to waste that. That's actually like a real talent that you have. And you know what? I was 16, but I had never really thought about pursuing art as like a professional. I had no idea really. I thought I would just be a business person of some sort, but I didn't know that I could actually be an artist professionally. I didn't think that was possible for me, because I guess because it never really been suggested to me. So that little instant, like less than a 2 minute conversation, really changed my life. So it could be just a small thing that somebody said to you, but it impacted you and something that was valuable to me. Like art is really valuable to me. So that little comment, that little conversation made a huge impact. And if he decided not to say anything, then who knows where I would have been right now, you know? An engineer, probably. I don't know if I would have been an engineer, but maybe I would have been something. I don't know what would have happened, but it's good to reflect on what those instances are, because it can help us too to be like, all right, if you see somebody doing something and you're like, hey, I want to encourage that person in this moment, because someone at some point encouraged you. So it's very like, it gives us that sort of empowerment to think, oh, I can do this for somebody else too. I can give them this gift of just saying, hey, you're good at that. And it's really helpful. All right, so we're moving on. The next thing is the biggest regret. And this is also another thing that that we don't really necessarily like to think about, but what is the story without a little bit of drama? And, what is a character without a lesson to learn? I think it's really important to reflect back on some of these things, because it really helps us to say, all right, I made a mistake here. How can I change this? How can I make better decisions next time? And you can't do that unless you acknowledge, hey, this was something that I did, or this is something that I said that impacted something that I value in a negative way. So maybe even you said something that hurt someone that you love. You might have done something that caused you to lose an important relationship, or even a job position, or even an opportunity. You could have been like, man, like, I reacted too quickly. I didn't respond in a way that I feel like was really true to my values, or I didn't respond in a way that I feel like was really true to who I am. And so you may have a regret. And it's funny enough because I actually have a tattoo on my arm, and it says like, my life, my choices, no regrets. And it's in Latin, of all things. I got it when I was like 20 years old. And the thing is, I got it because I felt that, I know I make mistakes, and I make a lot of them. But the idea is that even though I make mistakes, every mistake I make, I learn from it. So it's like, it's okay to make mistakes, because every decision that I make is my own, and it's how I'm learning. But I'm older now. I still believe, and I still am glad I have my tattoo, and I still value like every art that I've gotten. But at the same time, I'm like, there are some things like, if I had another choice, I probably wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have said that, or I would have made a different decision in that area. And you know what? That's just how it is. And because we realize, that sometimes we do things and it goes against our values, sometimes it like causes us to like, be frustrated with ourselves. It can cause us to be like, man, that's not even who I am. Like, why did I act that way? Why did I respond that way? Why did I do that or say that? And we can write those things down, with getting as, you just write as much as you feel. It doesn't have to be like super detailed. You can just kind of say, all right, this is one experience that I had that I wish I would have done something different. And maybe you can reflect on, all right, what did I learn from that? What did I really get from that? That was that I realized now that I didn't realize before. And that can be a way for you to reflect, and just kind of like, even though it is a regret, you can still be like, you know what, I did learn something from that. And I never want to have to experience that tough lesson again. And maybe you can actually be saving someone else from experiencing that sort of a trial that you've gone through, or that kind of struggle that you went through. It's kind of like you're helping pass along the knowledge in many ways when you reflect on, wow, I made a mistake this time, and I hope that no one else has to go through this exact experience. Hopefully I can help somebody avoid this mistake by sharing my own. And like I said before, you don't have to do it through yourself as the character. You can do alias character, a character that you've designed, and they can be going through this thing that you've gone through, and they can lose the thing, or that was valuable to you can be something that was valuable to the character, and you can use this as a way of expressing your stories and using your own experiences as lessons that you want to really kind of pass along to the next generation. And I know that might be kind of feel like it's far-fetched, but I think that is kind of the purpose of art in many ways, is to kind of share and reflect the things that we go through, so that hopefully we're sharing like how to avoid pain. If we've gone through pain, we don't want everyone else to feel that same way, hopefully. We don't want everyone to have to go through that pain, hopefully. So your experience can be something that really helps somebody else to avoid that mistake. So like I said, if you feel more personal or more private, you can use alias character, but I think this is a really, really good one to use for a story jumping off point. And also note, like, what was it that was valuable to you that you either like betrayed in yourself, or really hurt someone that was important to you and you regret it. So that is the fourth one. The fifth one is to kind of look back and kind of see, all right, all of these things are connected. All of these things are connected, and they're connected because stories are really all about character, and we're really sharing our personal experiences. We're really sharing our character experiences, right? These are things that are personal to us as humans, and each one of us is the protagonist of our own life. I know it's cheesy, but it's very, very true. Each one of us are the protagonist of our own life, and all of the lessons that we learn are attached to our values. All of these things that we experience are attached to our values. And it's really important to know that that's how scenarios are born, is by our values being tested by life, our values being validated and invalidated by life. And I think these are really great scenario jumping off points. These are great ways to kind of brainstorm, and you want to make sure that the character experience it has the value that you had in that experience, because that's what makes it personal. That's what makes the character react. That way you're really like, you're not just telling it in a general sense, because like I said before, like a perfect day for me might be like a terrible day to somebody else. I love hiking and being outside, and my mother hates that. So like a hiking day would be great for me, but she would not, but so it does have to be aligned, the experience with the values that you have. So I hope this is really helpful for you in coming up with some story ideas that's going to get you moving off to the next stage of your journey, using your own experiences, whether you want to do that through yourself as the protagonist, or use an alias character to experience it for you. That way you kind of too, I mean, even whether you do it for as yourself, or or with a different character, you can always remember that you have the creative freedom. And if you want, you can even be like, hey, this is the outcome I would have liked, so I'm going to have my character have the outcome that I wanted. You can do that too. I think that's the fun of being able to tell your own stories, is that you have the freedom. You have the freedom to tell the story that you want to tell, and to kind of teach your audience through your own experiences, and through what you're creating. You can actually teach a lesson, and that's really, really powerful. I mean, what's more powerful than being able to actually help someone else through the art that you're making? I think that's a great way to kind of be a creative person, is have your stories be impactful. And I think the best way we can be impactful is by telling authentic stories that really, really resonate with our own experiences. So I hope this is helpful for you. I hope that this is giving you some good tips on how to create your own stories. I'm going to repeat them one more time just so that you remember. So these are 5 ways to draw story ideas from your own experiences. First is the best day you've ever had and how it impacted your values in a positive way. The worst day you've ever had, how it impacted your values in a negative way or took something that was valuable from you. The next is the best advice that you've ever been given. How are you able to avoid something that you didn't want to happen through this good advice? Or how are you able to pursue something that was really valuable to you because of this advice? The fourth one is your biggest regret. So how did you kind of go against your values? How did you hurt someone that was valuable to you or even yourself by something that you did that you later look and be like, man, I shouldn't have done that, or I could have handled that differently. And the last thing is to look back on all these different ideas that you have and always remember that it's the character's values being impacted that is really what's creating a powerful story. So this is going to be a great way for you to kind of brainstorm and even to get other story ideas too. But these are good ones to kind of go through, maybe kind of sketch in your sketchbook or in your iPad, whatever you like, and you can get some really, really fun stories with these, okay? So until I see you again, be grateful, live balanced, be yourself, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.